Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, sponsored by the Draft Professors. Joined tonight by the normal crew, EJ and Christian, special guest, Eric Smith. Eric, it's been a while since we've seen each other on a podcast. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jim. Always love to be on with you guys. Love what you guys do over here on Draft Professors, and like to be, involved when I can. Definitely respect you and the group that you've assembled over here. So happy to be here with you guys tonight.
Awesome. So yeah, we have a Bills and Dolphins podcaster, but we're going to stay at like opposite corners of the room, so we should be okay. We're going to be covering a Jeff Hafley defense today. We've done a Fangio defense. We've done a Flores defense episode. And this was a good opportunity because EJ, when we were talking about this last week, you said you had to go research what the defense was.
Yeah.
What did you go figure out?
So from what I dug up about it, it seems to me like it's more of a modernized version of the Legion of Boom, those old Seahawks defense, because Jeff Hafley, he got a lot of influence from Rob Saleh when they were both at the 49ers together. And Rob Saleh, as we know, he got a lot of his influences from Pete Carroll himself. So they run a lot of the similar concepts. What they are a pretty much just basically a 4-3 or 4-2-5 base defense. So, but what they do is they run the like Jeff Hafley, he's adopted the wide 9 front. That the same thing that Rob Saleh does. Wide 9 front, what it is pretty much as famous for your defensive ends are aligned in a 9 technique, which is like a lot wider than usually. Usually your defensive ends are either in a 5 or a 7 technique. Wide 9 technique gives your defensive ends a sharp angle to the quarterback. So it's a different type of defense, and it also leaves bigger gaps for your linebackers to cover. But that's the defense that he runs, and he runs in an aggressive style of defense. Not really known for blitzing on first and second down, but on third down, I think their blitz percentage was like around 46%. So he's coming after you on third and long. He's really coming after you. What they do coverage wise, this is what really makes it like a more like a Pete Carroll defense, because he's heavy on the cover 3, on the single high defenses, cover 3, cover 1. What he does do is he disguises his coverages, so he doesn't completely rely on those single high defenses. What he does is he disguises it, say like he shows up in a showing cover 1 or a single high defense, he'll rotate that into cover 2 or cover 4. So he's big on the post snap rotations. And the point of post snap rotations is just to confuse the quarterback. That's all that is. Give him one picture before the snap and change the picture after the snap. So that's what he does there. But the main thing is what he does. He is a one gap shooting defense. Nobody's two gapping. Nobody's reacting, waiting for the quarterback to do something or anything like that. Nobody's occupying blocks. Everybody is shooting upfield. Everybody's playing the run on the way to the quarterback. So it's a very attacking style defense.
Okay, Christian, you want to add anything to EJ's description?
Yeah, EJ summed up perfectly. Just that because they play a wide 9, it's imperative for the defensive tackles, especially, to win their one-on-one reps. They got to have quickness. They got to be able to shoot gaps and win their one-on-one battle.
Okay. Eric, any additional insights that you have based on what EJ and Christian just shared?
No, not necessarily. One of the things that I would add is that Hafley has been multiple in a sense over his time with Green Bay. Right? He's done really well with being able to adapt to different personnel that he has. Like the big one was, you go from the beginning of the year last year where they've got, Kenny Clark up there as a defensive tackle, and then you make the Micah Parsons move, and that, obviously comes with some scheme changes with that. So I feel like, there's going to be value in having guys that can do multiple different things, which is true of every defense.
Okay. So EJ, you want to pick a position group and kind of dive in to that group and kind of define its role within the defense?
Yeah. I guess we start with edge like we usually do. Edge rushers for, like I said, with a wide 9 defense, your edge rushers are pretty much like out there on an island versus the offensive tackle. So what you want in this style of defense, you want guys with enough speed, enough burst, enough get off to get around the edge, because a lot of it is either you got to beat the offensive tackle around the edge, but you do have a lot more space inside. So the inside counter move is also a very good option. So you want your defensive ends to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more athletic, change of direction. It would be really good for them, because pretty much it's just what you see down at the Senior Bowl. It's just one-on-ones as far as rushing the passer goes. As far as against the run, it's like I said, it's stop the run on the way to the passer. It's not you're not asking to occupy blocks or anything like that. They want defensive ends that's going to really just get after it. You want guys that are athletic. You want guys with burst. You want guys with speed. You want guys that are explosive. So I think the guys that I got two guys that I think fit this mold, and I got one is like a complete sleeper. He's pretty much he's a guy that I just found, so I wanted to talk about him too. But the first guy is Cassius Howell from Texas A&M, 6'2", 248. He's listed at. So I think he would be perfect as a wide 9 defensive end, because we've heard the drawbacks with him with his arm length and everything like that. He's got short arms. Like length is not an issue for him. He's got T-Rex arms. Coming from a wide 9 stance, it puts all of his strengths on display rather than his weaknesses, because he's not going up and engaging with the offensive tackle right at the snap. He's getting a good 2 or 3 steps to build up his momentum, and then that's when his explosiveness hit. That's when his speed comes into play. If once he gets to the offensive lineman, he's already got a lot of forward momentum. If he has some type of hand usage or any type of counter moves, he can put that in play. It gives him a lot more space to operate, to use his athletic ability to get around offensive tackle. So I think Cassius Howell would be one. The other one is the guy from Duke, Wesley Williams. He stands at 6'3", 251. I like his burst. I like his get off. That's one thing with the wide 9. They want you to get off. They want you to shoot up field. So he has a nice little get off. He works out of primarily a 3-point stance, which is pretty much what you're going to be doing in wide 9 on the 3-point stance. Well, sometimes you are in a 2-point stance, but he works primarily out of a 3-point stance. And at Duke, he has lined up it as a wide 9 technique already, so he has experience doing that. But I like the guy's burst. I like the power that he plays with. Once he lays hands on you, you can tell the offensive line is moving. So he needs to just add a little bit more inside counters to his game. But he's got the burst up field. He's got the aggressiveness. He's got that type of body, that body type and that mold to fit into a wide 9 scheme. Other guy is just a complete athlete. George Gums Jr. From Florida. He's 6'4", 250 pounds. So he's new to the position. He spent, I think, 3 years as a tight end and made the conversion to defensive end down at Florida. But he's just a long athletic guy. You can see the raw talent. Like he's got no idea what he's doing on the field, but he's an athlete, so he just knows how to go get after it. And with a wide 9 defense, that's pretty much what you're being asked to do, is go and get after it. But so he's a complete project, but he would fit in this type of defense because he has that athletic.
Christian, you have some more edge players that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think the Hafley scheme is built for a player like Eric Moore, where he has good off burst, quickness, and explosiveness. And if you give him a runway, he can convert speed to power and drive a 320-pound offensive tackle straight backwards and collapse the pocket. The other one I had, I think I'll be curious to see how he tested the combine. This one could be denied Dennis Sutton as well. Good size, almost 270 pounds, and shows the raw quickness to win with speed. A flexible athlete can bend around the corner and shorten it in route to the quarterback. Just has to be more consistent in his rush technique, diversify his rush plan. And then a sleeper, kind of a sleeper I like. I think he needs to get stronger to be better against the run, but Max Llewellyn of Iowa has the size, the quickness to hold the edge, rush the passer, just has to get stronger and be more consistent setting the edge.
Okay, Eric, any other edges that you've watched in this draft class that you like for the Hafley defense that we're still in the process of defining?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of edges that I like. It'll be interesting to see what direction they go at the edge group. You obviously have Chop Robinson, who is likely going to be a starter on one side of it. So do you go with a similar player on the other side, or do you go with somebody that's a little more heavy-handed? But if we're talking about those wide nine fits, the guys that can play out in space, curious your thoughts, EJ and Christian, on guys like Romello Height and the other Michigan edge, Jayshawn Barham.
Oh yeah, we talked about Jayshawn Barham a lot on this show. We're big fans of Jayshawn. So he would fit. He definitely would fit. Romello Height is that's right up his alley. He's pure speed rusher, so he can line up like that. Kind of the way Romello Height played, the way Texas Tech plays Romello Height, they kind of play him at like a 9 technique because they got him at the outside linebacker in a odd front. So he kind of does that same thing. But yeah, he definitely would fit too.
And those simulate pressures Hafley likes to run on 3rd and long.
Mm-hmm.
Your edge rushers have to have the ability to drop into coverage and just throw the quarterback off. And Height's one who fits that bill perfectly.
Absolutely.
So slightly different question, not about the edge room, but Sonny Styles over a corner.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Eric, you want to weigh in on that?
I think so, but the lane would make a really strong case for me. But can't go wrong with either of those guys.
Okay. So, Christian, next position in the Hafley defense that you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's go with defensive tackles. It's because the wide 9, you don't have near as much help from your edge rushers. So you got to be able to hold up on the interior. You got to win your one-on-ones and hold the point of attack in the middle. And I kind of struggle to find good fits with this defensive line class because I look around the names, and some are pure nose tackles, pure run defenders, but may not have the quickness to win one-on-ones, and others who may have elite off snap quickness, but may not have the anchor to sit and hold against the run. But a couple I did highlight, and I'll go chalk here. Peter Woods out of Clemson. Win one-on-one, versatile, can align as an edge or a defensive or on the interior and be disruptive. And then the other one is Aaron Graves out of Iowa. I think his quickness threatens the corners of guards. I think he's got the hand usage to be able to separate. Just has to help his anchor be more consistent as a run defender.
Okay, EJ, any other things you want to add about defensive tackles?
Yeah, that's the thing with the defensive tackle class this year. You got a lot of nose tackles, a lot of guys that's going to eat up space, but that can push the pocket. You don't have a whole lot of natural pass rushers that's in this class. 2 guys that stood out to me because, with these defenses, like Christian said, you want to be able to win one-on-one. You want to have you want to be a little bit more quicker, more explosive off the snap than a Cade McDonald would be or something like that. So first guy I thought of was Zane Durant. He's quick, he's twitchy, he's explosive. He gets right off the ball, he gets upfield, and he's attack. He's a smaller player, like 6 foot, 6'1", 290, but that he fits the mold of shooting the gap because when you're shooting the gap, you're just trying to get in between the offensive linemen. You're just trying to get up the field and create havoc. So you need a lot of get off, a lot of first step explosiveness. The other guy I got from Texas Tech, Skylar Gill Howard. He's 6'1", 290 pounds. This guy plays with a ton of motor, a ton of effort. He's got the first step quickness to get upfield. He's got the hand usage. He's just a bit undersized with sub 300 pounds, like 6 foot, 6'1". But he's going to be in somebody's rotation because he's a dog out there. He's got good effort. He's going to chase down plays. I got this one tweet out. I think I put it up today. I mean, he's just chasing down running back from sideline to sideline. He's one of those guys that really gets after it. So he fits the mold into what we're looking for in a Jeff Hafley type of defense.
So Eric, I know that you and I have had some conversations. Miami invested a lot in defensive tackle with Kenneth Grant last year. Any thoughts on the defensive tackles that EJ and Christian mentioned, and what's your overall status of the defensive tackle room for Miami?
Yeah, so defensive tackles is a group that I really haven't looked at all in the draft process. And a big reason for that is that, Miami has Zach Sealer returning. They invested the first round pick in Kenneth Grant last year, picked up Jordan Phillips in the 5th round, I believe, and then Zeke Biggers in the 7th round. So you're 4 deep on guys that are going to be on the roster already. And so my question for you guys on this one is, right, and maybe some of the guys you already talked about fall into this, right? But is there a day 3 guy that you feel, probably more of a upfield pass rush threat guy that fits in there? Because, I mean, Sealer and Grant, I feel like can do a little bit of everything. Jordan Phillips is more of your stout nose tackle, not going to give you a lot in the pass rush game, right? And then Zeke Biggers last year was more of like your 4 or 5 technique, heavy defensive end type player. So if they're looking to add defensive tackles in the draft, I feel like it's going to be, maybe that guy that comes on for, 10, 15 snaps a game in pass rush situations, just getting upfield. So do you guys have anybody that kind of fits that mold?
My personal opinion is every player other than Peter Woods was a day 3 defensive tackle, but Christian and EJ, what do you think?
Yeah,
well, both guys I mentioned.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say both guys. I would say both guys I mentioned, they're going to be available on day 3. I don't think they're going to go like early in the draft. Zane Durant and Sky Gilhoward, most likely, I got them as like round 4 type of guys, so they should be there later in the draft.
One name I will throw out there, and he's just kind of, I would say, an average athlete, but when I watched him in the Senior Bowl, he can win one-on-ones with good hand usage. That's Bryson Easton out of Tennessee.
Okay. And then there's one other name that I'll invoke, and that's going to be Grayson Holton from Oklahoma. So he's a little bit bigger than the defensive tackles that EJ mentioned, but he's still sub 300. And I believe Holton played 4 years at Oklahoma, but he was in a rotation. So one of the reasons that Holton isn't higher on draft boards is that he just didn't play necessarily the amount of snaps. But I don't know if Holton is round 3. I don't know if he's day 3, but he would be in that range. And as somebody pointed out here, Miami pretty much owns round 3, right? So Miami has 3 third-round picks. So if Holton was taken with one of those, probably not that early. But if he's there round 4, I would think that that's pretty close to BPA.
And he was consistently disruptive at the Senior Bowl when he was getting more consistent reps.
Yeah, so
that's the name of his game. He's an explosive player.
So, EJ, you want to dive into the corners in a Hafley defense?
Yeah, on the corners, what Hafley plays with his cornerback, they play a lot of zone coverage, a lot of cover. That's what they did with the Packers, a lot of cover 3, a lot of single high coverages. He did some cover 1 stuff where you're just playing man coverage. Cover 3 is pretty much your, you got a single high safety with deep middle responsibilities, and your corners have deep third responsibilities. What he does is when he wants to switch it up, when he wants to disguise that and get out of the single high coverages, he'll go into what they try to do is cover 2 invert. Cover 2 invert is just where at the snap of the ball, your safeties and your corners just switch responsibilities. So your safeties are screaming down and because regular cover 2 is where your corners have shallow coverage. They're both on both sides. They have shallow coverage. Your safeties have deep coverage. It's pretty much just splitting the field in half, shallow and deep coverage. So inverted cover 2 is where your safeties are screaming down the field and they take the shallow coverage, and your corners are screaming back up the field and they take the deep coverage. That pretty much, again, all just designed to confuse the quarterback and give him a different look. But he does do the cover 2 invert. And the thing about inverted cover 2 is it rarely ever works. It seems to be hard to coach and hard for the players to actually get on the same page to do it. So the fact that he can implement that into his defense, that's a testament to his coaching. That's a testament to his players as well. because cover 2 invert is not anybody's favorite coverage, but he runs it successfully. But with guys with in the Jeff Hafley defense, you want guys that are able to play in zone and do have some type of man ability as well. But I picked pretty much more of the zone type of corners for this exercise. So the first guy I thought of was Hezekiah Massis out of Cal. He's a pure zone guy. What he does is like he drops back in his zone. His click and close, like when he's backpedaling, his transition to click and attack something in front of him is so fast. That's how he gets his hands on a lot of passes. He's quick with his start-stop quickness. He changes directions very well, but when he needs to slam on the brakes and change direction going forward, he has that. He's very, very much a ball hawk. He's one of the better ball hawks in this cornerback class. His ball skills are like that of a wide receiver. If the ball is in the air, he can track it just as well or better than the wide receiver can. And another thing is he's assignment sound. I put up a tweet where he's dropping in cover 3, and the offense, they run a post and a 9 route. Pretty much they flood the zone. That's a concept designed to put the cornerback in conflict. So they run two routes in his area, so he has to pick one to chase. What he does is he stays true to his assignment. He's got deep zone coverage, so he stays true to his assignment. He passes off the post route to the single high safety, which is what he's supposed to do, and then he stays with his coverage. But the quarterback thinks that he's got the cornerback full. It all ends up in a interception for Hezekiah Massis, and it's very good. It looks very good on film. So he's a pure zone type of guy. He's got the skills to play some man coverage, but you like him best in zone and his back pedal with his eyes toward the quarterback. That's how he reads and reacts very well. The other guy I got is Takario Davis from Washington. 6'4", 200 pounds long. He has another guy that has some type of man coverage ability. Oh, that's the beauty of the wall. Are you not supposed to figure it out? That's the whole beauty of it. That's what it is.
And Christian just has a door. So
that's it. But yeah, Takario Davis, but he's a long guy. He plays a little bit of both, actually. He can play in some man, he can play in some zone. But I like him in zone because pretty much he has that length. He can cover a whole lot of ground with his wingspan, with his stride length. He's a guy that if you want to play some cover 3 with, he can be disruptive at the catch point. He can pretty much he sits back in his zone and he can eye the quarterback and he can get to passes faster simply because he's got more length. He covers more ground. But he's a guy that you can play in your signal high defenses. And usually what they're doing, they're playing their nickel, so they're going to have their nickel cornerback out there. I got Chris Johnson from San Diego State, 6', 190. Now he can play outside and he can play inside, either or. But I put him in the slot because he's another guy that clicks and closes on stuff in front of him very well. He's another guy he's comfortable moving backwards. That's the thing with a lot of cornerbacks; they're not comfortable moving backwards. They're slower moving backwards than moving forward. But these guys are comfortable moving backwards, moving back in their back pedal, and still reading the quarterback and reacting to what's in front of them. So those are my 3 right there.
And Christian, what corners do you like for the Hafley defense?
Yeah, I like Chris Johnson as well. It can play man, can play zone, good eyes when in off coverage, can reads the backfield, reads receivers, can trigger downhill to cover the out, flat, or the run, willing tackler, kind of a good all-around player, and someone who you can ask to do a little bit of everything. The other I really like here is Trayton Stukes, kind of a big slot corner, good ball skills, good in coverage. And oops, I lost my screen there. Good in coverage, good ball skilks, and someone who can make a play on the ball is a versatile playmaker, which Hafley really requires out of his defensive backs. A lot of 5'6" defensive backs on the field at the same time, and you have to be opportunistic. You got to be able to take the ball away.
Okay, Eric, what would you like to add on the cornerback situation?
No, I thought you guys did a great job with that because as you guys are talking through there, I had Massis, then I had Davis, and then I'm looking at the guys in between. I had Chris Johnson in there as well. The other name that I had kind of grouped with those guys that I want to get your thoughts on is Julian Neal out of Arkansas. And then I'd also I have Davidson Igbinosun a little higher than that group, and curious your thoughts on those two players.
Go ahead, EJ.
Yeah, so I like Igbinosun. He is more of, I like him playing like, honestly, the best he looks is when he's playing off man. We see how he is in man. He gets a little grabby, hence the all of penalties last year, but he has toned that down a lot. But I like him playing off man where he can reroute the receivers at the break point. I love the physicality that he plays with, and he's a good athlete too. There are a little bit of issues with change of direction with him, but that's something you can work around. He can play a little bit of zone, but I like him more so in off man coverage pretty much off man, and he can play some zone because I like him just sitting back and reacting to what's in front of him and being aggressive and coming downhill. Julian Neal, I like him as as a man cover guy. With him, I gotta look at him a little bit more, but his transitions I think are a little bit slower than some other cornerbacks in the class. I like the size, I like the length. He has decent long speed, but as a zone type of player, I don't know if he has the fluidity. I like him more as a man type of a cover corner, where he can be physical with guys and get hands on guys and limit their ability to run. But I really do like Igbinosun better out of the two of them now.
Cool. Christian, anything else to add there?
Yeah, I like Igbinosun better as a man corner rather than zone, but he does show the ability to identify, anticipate, and react on when in coverage. So, and he's got the length to contest receivers and challenge the catch point. Julian Neal's he can be a bit slow to react, and it being primarily a zone-based scheme, that could present some troubles for him. He could be a little late to navigate to the spot. But I do think Neal, though, he's a physical presence as a run defender, so that would be an asset coming off the edge, shooting down and addressing the outside runs.
Okay, so I was looking at the corner board and looking maybe for some more like EJ. Could you throw like one later day 3 sleeper corner? And then Christian, I'm going to give you
Kobe Taylor out of Vanderbilt. I'm surprised he didn't even get a combine invite, because this is a guy that's been on the freaks list 3 years in a row. He's about 6'3", 190 pounds, super long, super fast, transitions very well. The defense they had him playing in, they played him like strictly in like a off man zone type of coverage. Like they weren't very diverse with their coverages at Vanderbilt at all. So like pretty much he was in a zone like all the time. So I don't know exactly what his back pedal looks like. You don't know a lot of the stuff technically of what he can do, but I do know that he's an athlete. So some team is going to draft him because he's tall and he's fast. So some team is going to draft him like somewhere in day 3.
Okay. Christian, any other late day 3 corner you want to name drop?
I'll throw Thaddeus Dixon out there out of North Carolina. Really good instincts and discipline. I think he's got the eyes to maintain his assignment and then react timely and accordingly.
Okay, so this is the beauty of draft professors. You're both of you, like EJ and Christian. Your boards are unbelievable with the amount of depth that you've done to get to this point of the draft cycle. So we have 2 positions left. One is linebacker, one is safety. Christian, which one do you want to cover?
I'll go linebackers. So linebackers, because the defensive linemen are they're expected more to rush the passer. The linebackers have to be able to not only stop the run, but also drop in coverage and kind of man the middle. Because Hafley, he's highly aggressive, but he's also trying to find the balance of kind of like a Fangio, keep the defense in front, don't give up the big play. see a lot of cover 3 they play out of him. You got to be able to drop in cover, show fluidity, sideline to sideline range, but also shoot downhill and fill gaps, because with a wide 9 set, the front 4 can't cover everything. The linebackers have to be able to trigger downhill and fill those gaps. So a couple names I've got, or EJ, I don't know if you want to add anything to that before we go into player fits.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so Jake Golday to me has the length to really disrupt throwing lanes when playing in coverage. Has to get stronger at the point of contact, but I think he's got the frame to add some weight. But sideline to sideline range, really good speed. Still young, playing the position, but I think Golday is someone who really fits well in a Jeff Hafley defense. Someone who can fill in, stop the run, but also drop in coverage disrupt throwing lanes.
Where do you have Golday as far as a projection?
I've got top 50. I got a second round grade on him. I think he's got a lot of upside going forward.
Yeah, so Golday is fascinating. I know EJ was one of the podcasters that did linebackers when we broke down the whole linebacker class. Mm-hmm. But Jake Golday is fascinating because if you watch 2024, he was playing slot. He wasn't even playing linebacker. So this is a 240-pound linebacker that has been covering some of the best wide receivers in college football. I believe there's reps of Golday covering Ryan Williams downfield. Right. And you don't normally see a linebacker running with an elite wide receiver like that. He moved a linebacker to a more traditional linebacker role this year at UC. But one of the other things about Golday is I'm seeing a huge variation in where he's graded. So there are people that will take Golday in round 1, like the last 5 picks of round 1. Right. So I believe that happened on Sunday's mock that we did at Draft Professor. There's a lot of people that are round 2, and then there's a few that are round 3. So EJ, where are you on Golday right now?
Yeah, I wouldn't take him in round 1. I mean, he's immensely talented. I like him. It was weird watching him play like in a nickel overhang type of role. But, he pulled it off. They did it with him. So credit to him and his athletic ability. But I wouldn't take him in round 1, maybe round 2, round 3. I got him as a day 2 player. So I think that's where ultimately he goes. But he definitely has a starter upside because he has the coverage ability. He has the athleticism. But you want to see what the instincts are in the box. He has decent instincts already in the box, but you want him to be a hair quicker. And that's simply because he hasn't played that traditional linebacker role a ton. But I think with more reps, he'll be fine like that. But he definitely has a ton of upside.
Okay. EJ, you want to drop any more linebackers that you like for the Hafley defense?
Yeah. Like Christian said, your workload as a linebacker in this type of defense is a lot heavier than what it would be in other defenses. Sometimes you usually, like in a Fangio defense, you got guys in front of you that's occupying blockers, so all you got to do is see ball, get ball. That's not the case here. With your defensive linemen shooting up the field, that means your offensive linemen are climbing to the second level trying to block the second wave that's coming. So you got to deal with offensive linemen in your face. You have to have the sideline to sideline speed to chase down plays, because sometimes with a wide 9 defense, that B gap, the A gap is the space between the center and the guard. B gap is the space between the guard and the tackle. That B gap is extra wide. That you have to cover that zone. You have to cover that area. So teams are going to try to attack those gaps, and you have to be fast enough and explosive enough to get down there. On top of that, you have to be strong enough to knock off the offensive lineman that's trying to block you to get there. And oh, by the way, you still got to drop back into coverage when it's a passing game, when it's a pass. So your job, your workload as a linebacker in this defense is bigger. That's why when you look at the Packers, they had Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, highly athletic players, very big players, physical players, and also can run. They have the talent to do it all. So I went chalk here with these linebackers. So first and foremost, I put Sonny Styles there because he has the talent to do it all. He if you want to give him a big workload, he can handle that. He can cover. He can chase down a ball carrier. He's one of the fastest linebackers in his class, and he knows how to shed block. He may not be that powerhouse that's going to knock offensive linemen's heads off, but he knows how to slip blocks without giving up gap integrity. So he's not going to be run out of the play while trying to avoid a blocker. So he knows how to get to the ball carrier. Other one I got is Anthony Hill. He's he's old school. He's a downhill thumper. He's going to blow up the A gap. He's going to blow up everything that's in front of him. So he's a guy that can take on offensive linemen and stack and shed, and then get to the ball carrier. He also has enough athletic ability to drop down into his zone coverages and handle players coming into his zone, and to reading the quarterback as far as being the middle hook defender and relating to players that come in his zone. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a man coverage type of guy. I wouldn't want him running with running backs on a wheel route necessarily, but he has enough to where he can be effective in zone coverage. But he's a guy that he can handle all the duties that this type of defense would throw at him. Though these are two guys that can do that.
Okay, Eric, thoughts on the Miami Dolphins linebacker room and anybody that you've watched?
Yeah, so I mean, the Dolphins have Jordan Brooks, who is a very good linebacker already. The other linebacker spot has been filled by Tyrell Dodson. Bills should be familiar with him. But he's been a guy that you constantly want to replace. So there's definitely an availability there. As we're kind of talking through that with the linebackers, that question earlier about Styles versus a corner, if they're both on the board 11, when you look at the depth of the linebacker group compared to the depth of the cornerback room, right? That if you look at it from that perspective, then Sonny Styles is almost a no-brainer there, because there is no other linebacker that is close to him, unless you're putting Arvell Reese as a off-ball linebacker in that conversation. Anthony Hill is my number 2 linebacker. Love him. The one that I wanted to ask you guys about was Aiden Fisher out of Indiana. What do you guys think about him and his fit for this scheme?
Christian.
Little stiff. I'm not sure about his sideline to sideline range, but working downhill and stuff in the run, I mean, very instinctual, very intelligent. I just think his range is going to be somewhat limited because some lower half stiffness.
Yeah, same. Because I like the instincts. I like the ability to diagnose plays. That makes him a little bit faster, but I think there's some athletic limitations there, especially for this type of defense. I think in a different type of defense, I think he'll be just fine. But for this type of defense, I think there's a little bit of athletic limitations.
So there are draft professors that say Aiden Fisher is the best pass coverage linebacker in this draft class. I'm curious, EJ, Christian, Eric, any of you going to buy or sell?
I'm selling it. I mean, I like Sonny Styles in coverage. I like the kid from Pitt in coverage. I don't know if you want to call him a linebacker or not, but I like him. Yeah, I like him in coverage. I'll take both of them. I'll take Kyle Lewis and Sonny Styles over Aiden Fisher in coverage. And that's the thing, with coverage is different from what they're asking Aiden Fisher to do. He's dropping into more so of a middle hook defender, so he's just relating to routes that's coming into his zone and carrying them off and passing them off. Sonny Styles and Kyle Pitts, they're usually they can cover running backs coming on a wheel route, or they're dropping off into the flat. It's a different type of coverage that they're doing. And that's another thing with, like, comparing Sonny Styles to Aiden Fisher. You're not gonna ask Aiden Fisher to drop into like a hook curl type of apex defender type of coverage. You're not going to ask him to do that because he doesn't have the athletic ability to do that. That's why I would take Sonny Styles, because he can drop in that middle linebacker type of coverage, and he can also have that apex defender type of coverage as well. It's just a more of an athlete to be able to do that.
Kind of a dynamic, versatile playmaker who can impact the game downhill in the box and deep as well. And see someone, Jim, we talked about at 7:00 was Kendall Daniels out of Oklahoma, kind of a converted safety dime linebacker. I like how physical he is, but he can also flip his hips and get back in the deep third in under one of those simulated pressure looks that Hafley likes to run on and third and obvious passing downs.
Okay, love the Kendall Daniels shout out. And we have 2 linebacker podcasts next week. I believe there's a linebacker show on Wednesday and then another one on Thursday. So if anybody watching wants to learn about a lot more linebackers, we have 2 different podcasts giving their interpretation of the linebacker class next week. Okay, so the last position, EJ, is safety. You want to talk about safeties in a Hafley defense?
Yeah, safeties in the Hafley defense. You're gonna have to be able to play as a single high. With the single high is when you think of single high safeties, the classic single high safety is Earl Thomas. That's the classic role of a single high safety. You want to have range, sideline to sideline, all over the deep half of the field. You want to be able to stay on top of all the routes. What this requires is it requires speed. It requires you have to have like your instincts have to be good, because you have to have eyes on the quarterback, and you got to make sure the quarterback's not you're manipulating the quarterback, and the quarterback's not manipulating you. And ball skills, got to have ball skills, because if the wide receiver gets on top of the cornerback, that's your responsibility now. Cornerback's in trail position, he can't help you, so you have to have the ball skills to stay over top of routes, to locate the football, the trajectory, and all of that. With these, it's a more modernized defense that the Hafley is running. So usually you can't have just one single high and one strong safety type of like Cam Chancellor role. You got to have guys that are a little bit more interchangeable, because, with motion and everything like that, responsibility of the safety can change. So originally, as my single high type of guy, I had Genesis Smith on here, but it was a guy I just watched before the show. So I took Genesis Smith off, and I added Ahmad Moses from SMU, 5'10", 205 pounds. I saw him on the combine list. What he does, I watched him versus Miami. Watch him against Miami, and he plays that classic single high role. My SMU answered most Miami formations with cover one, and Ahmad Moses was the single high safety. He finished that game with 15 tackles and 2 interceptions. The kid was everywhere. He triggers downhill with bad intentions. He wants to. I mean, he's a small guy, but he wants to knock your head off. He's that type of player. And even though he's a smaller player, he does have the range to stay as a single high. He plays some reps as a slot cornerback, so he has decent coverage ability. So I had him as my single high type of safety. I just want to see how he tests. I want to see what exactly his true speed is. I want to see how he tests at the combine. The other player I had is Jalen Husky out of Maryland. 6'1", 199. He's a guy more of a pure athlete. He's a downhill type of guy. And he's a guy where if you have to rotate your coverages, he can handle some single high duties as well. But in more like a cover 1, cover 3, he'll be the safety that's coming down, and he'll be. They call it the robber. He'll be the robber that's coming down and robbing all the crossing routes. That'll be his role, because he's very good triggering downhill, very good speed, good size, good change of direction. He's a very good athlete. It just sometimes you want to see if he has the necessary ball skills to be a single high and the necessary instincts. But coming downhill and robbing crossing routes, he can do that all day long. So I got those two guys. They're pretty much solid athletes. I think both of them can stick to staying as single high safeties at the next level. Ahmad Moses, I think he has a little bit of versatility where he can be a slot cornerback as well if they wanted him to do that. But both of these guys I think would fit in this defense.
So first of all, I love the Ahmad Moses shout out. He was not in the simulator when you started, but he is in the simulator now. So, thank you. And then we can never talk enough about Jalen Husky on this podcast. So shout out to Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper shouted out Jalen Husky in like October. And then ever since then, every Draft Professor podcast that covered safeties said that is definitely a safety that you want to watch. So if you are not familiar with Jalen Husky, I don't think he gets out of round 4, just based upon the different analysis of the various draft professors. Christian, what safeties did you like for the Hafley defense?
I like both USC safeties, Bishop Fitzgerald and Kamari Ramsey. Fitzgerald's your single high over the top, phenomenal ball skills, 5 picks this past season at USC, one pick six, and then Kamari Ramsey's kind of like that Robert role who's gonna play downhill, stuff the run, playing more that intermediate third. One more I think is an excellent fit, and I'm extremely high on him, and I don't think taking him with their Miami's first round pick would reach Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo. His skills in the deep third are elite. Fluidity, range, length, ball skills, and then he's got to improve his batting average as a tackler, but he's quick to trigger downhill and aggressive in attacking the run.
Okay. Eric, thoughts on the Miami Dolphins safety situation right now?
Yeah, so the safety situation now is basically Minka Fitzpatrick, and don't even know if he's still going to be there because there's been discussion of him possibly getting shopped. They have a rookie from last year, Dante Trader Jr., who played a little bit, but still has needs competition back there. Safeties are something that on the other podcast that I do that we're going to look at for next week. So I'm kind of early on them, but have looked at some of the names that you had, and I do have a few questions I want to run by you guys. So the first one of the guys that I interact with on Twitter, good defensive backs guy, he's got kind of a hot take that he has Dylan Thieneman is the best safety in the draft for Miami, even over Caleb Downs. His main concern with Caleb Downs is the lack of reps that he has had as that single high safety. So curious where you guys are on Dylan Thieneman, and if you guys agree with that line of thinking that he may be a better fit for Miami than what Caleb Downs is.
EJ?
I would say Thieneman's just scheme proof. You can drop him into any scheme and let him go to work. He impacts the game deep third, middle third, short third, can play zone, can align in man coverage. Thieneman can do everything. Downs I still think is the better player, but Thieneman I think is as it relates to Hafley's scheme would be the better fit as a single high. I'm sorry, EJ.
That's all right.
That's gonna work.
The first time we had everybody talking. So.
Yeah, right. yeah, no worries. But yeah, I would say, Thieneman is the better fit. I wouldn't necessarily say he's the better player, but he's the better fit because the thing with Caleb Downs is he could play that single high role and he could be okay at it. But the beauty of Caleb Downs is he's better the closer you bring him into the line of scrimmage. Let him wreak havoc closer to the line of scrimmage. That's where he's best at. Dylan Thieneman, he's good closer to the line of scrimmage as an enforcer, but Caleb Downs is the better player at that. Thieneman is probably the better cover guy. So if you're looking for a pure cover safety, then Thieneman is the better pick.
Next one was so my guy Anthony Testino commented earlier in here. I'm not sure if he's still watching or not, but he had told me to take a look at Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I did for the first time today. I'm not nearly as high as what you guys are talking about is, a first round option for the Dolphins. Not yet. So I guess one would be, is there a game that you guys have watched that you're like, hey, go watch him? This is where you're going to see the round one guy. And two, do you feel like there's some shades of Nick Emanwari in Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's game?
I would say athletically, there is some shades of Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. Shades of Nick Emanwari. What did I watch? I watched Toledo against, because I was watching the two corners too. They actually have two corners that are draft eligible as well, and they're not too bad. But yeah, I can't remember what game I watched with Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, but it was one where I saw they had him. They play a lot of off coverage. They play a lot of zone coverage. They were disguising things. They had everybody up at the line of scrimmage, and he dropped it off into a cover two. This speaks to what type of athlete Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is, because he was at the line of scrimmage, and at the snap he had to go. They dropped out into a cover two, so he had to go from the line of scrimmage all the way to the deep half coverage. you've got to have good athletic ability, good speed, fluidity. You got to have that for the coaches to be even comfortable calling that type of disguise with their defense. So that's one little snapshot of what he can do, because his athletic ability, it leads to versatility. So he can wear a lot of hats on the defense. He can do a lot. I can see why some people, I think if he blows up the combine, I think some team will take him late in the first round, but more than likely I got him as a day 2 guy, a second round guy, early second round, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went late in the first round.
I would go back. I'd recommend going watch the Kentucky game from the first game of the season. I think he had, I'm gonna pull stats. Yeah, 11 tackles and a fumble and a forced fumble in that game, and he was everywhere. Just a ball magnet. I actually like him better than Xavier McKinney. I think he can fill that role in the Hafley defense. And when Green Bay signed him from the Giants, he became the staple in that secondary. Someone who can take the ball away and step down and trigger against the run quickly.
Okay, so shout out to Brian. So Brian, you do a lot of small school scouting. Eric asked for what games to watch a few minutes ago. Brian covers the MAC. Like, we did a MAC podcast way back in the summer. So Brian, if you have games to watch, feel free to drop them into the chat. Okay, so Anthony, our Dolphins follower, he inspired this episode with a comment in our podcast last week. So do you guys have any thoughts on Bud Clark or Zaquee Wheatley? So that's Bud Clark from TCU and Zaquee Wheatley from Penn State as safety fits. Christian?
Yeah, Bud Clark's your ball hawk. He's going to take the ball away. He'll dominate that deep third. Wheatley, same thing. I think he doesn't have the ball production that you would like ideally, but he does have the fluidity to cover sideline to sideline and is aggressive in playing downhill, attacking the run.
So, EJ, I have a question. Is Zaquee Wheatley the Shamar Stewart of safeties?
Good athlete, no production?
Exactly.
Okay. Yep. Probably. He's that's the thing. Like, watching safeties is sometimes hard because sometimes like there are like a handful of plays where they're just not involved in. So you got to really watch every rep with safeties. But yes, Zaquee Wheatley, he's a guy like you really got to watch hard because he'll be the guy. The next guy up, say like some guy will make the tackle, but he'll be right there around the ball. He's a guy that hangs around the ball. So pretty much you're watching him to make sure he's assignment sound. You're watching for the athletic ability and everything like that. But yeah, he's that type of guy. He's not going to have the stats for it for everybody, but I think he's like once you see the film, once you see the measurables and all that, then I think a lot more people would like him.
Okay, and then Christian, what do you think about Landry Barton as a linebacker fit in a Hafley?
I'm not near as high on Barton as a lot of people are. I don't think he's got the strength to hold up against the run. And I just don't see the instincts and coverage either. I think he's going to be a really good special teamer. I think he's got potential if he adds some weight and gets better with his eyes anticipation. I just don't see it right now.
Okay. And then for the edges, Zion Young and Keldrick Falk. Thoughts on that, EJ?
So Zion Young, he had some good get off. He can play off. He can come off the edge. Keldrick Falk, he has the athletic ability to do it. You got to see with Keldrick Falk, you got to see what the hand usage is. You got to see what his pass rush moves are, because Auburn played him like he was a defensive tackle. Auburn played him in like the 4-eye. He was engaging with guards more than he was with tackles. So you got to see what the pass rush plan looks like. You got to see what the hand usage look like. But he has the athletic ability to do that, though.
Okay.
One more thing on Falk, if I may. Best case scenario, if everything pans out and he develops his pass rush arsenal, his versatility, there's your Micah Parsons. I think he's got that type of upside with his physical gifts, his burst. Just have to develop and refine his craft.
Okay. So Eric, do you have any comments on any of the players that Anthony asked about, or EJ's and Christian's response?
Well, I do have two more safeties I want to ask about. So when EJ led off with Genesis Smith there. I was hoping to hear his opinion on that because that's a player that I really like. You went a different direction there, but I do want to hear what you have to say about Genesis Smith.
Yeah, he's your typical single high safety. He's got range on that back end. My issue with him is like more of a pet peeve because he is there's no physical aspects to his game. Not a very good tackler. He doesn't take very good angles to tackle. He takes angles to, like, if it's a ball carrier coming his way, he'll take the angle to make it look like he's pursuing a ball carrier, and then oh darn, I just missed him. He's one of those guys. So like I want him to get a little bit stronger. I want him to get a little bit stronger. I want him to get a little bit more aggressive when coming downhill. But as far as playing the ball in the air, as being on the roof of the defense, he can do that all day long. He can be an excellent cover safety. But I just want him to have that complete game with him to where he can be. I'm not asking him to be Cam Chancellor or anything like that. I'm not asking him to be Brian Dawkins and knock somebody's head off. But just to be a reliable tackler, because now at the way he is now, he's swiping at guys' ankles. He's like laying on the ground and then swiping guys' ankles and hoping they trip. That's not what I want in my safety. That's not what I want in a defender. So I want to see him just be an adequate level tackler. That's the only thing I would say that he needs to help out with his game.
So check my math, but hasn't Genesis Smith had a 20% missed tackle rate the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
It would not surprise me.
It's pretty high.
Yeah, it tracks.
Yep.
You don't want him down the lines. You like him deep. You don't want him down the line of scrimmage near the ball.
Yeah, that's a lot of the notes I had, both with what EJ and Christian just said there, what I had with Genesis as well. So the other one that I wanted to ask you guys about, my guy Anthony Testino is very high on AJ Halsey out of LSU, and one of the things he says that he feels like he'd like to see Halsey play, 10 or 15 pounds lighter, and see if he can move a little better with that. But Anthony's really high on Halsey. Curious what you guys think of him.
Christian, you want to take that one?
Yes, and similar to Aiden Fisher, there's some stiffness. I do think cutting weight would help with that immensely because he does fly downhill. Just working side to side, there are some limitations.
Yep. EJ, want to add anything?
Yeah, I would say the same. Like there's some athletic limitations. He's one of your old school box safeties where he's just gonna play the closer to the line of scrimmage he is, the better off he'll be. But there are some like just speed, athletic limitations there.
Kind of the opposite of Genesis Smith. You want him up by the line of scrimmage.
Exactly.
Okay. So, Eric, do you have about 15 minutes to do a Miami Dolphins mock draft?
Sure.
We'll keep you in round 1. Okay.
All right.
So, I am pulling up the Draft Professor Simulator. And we're going to do a Miami Dolphins first round challenge. So, Eric, we're going to give you 5 different first round scenarios. We want you to give us your best player for Miami in round 1 in each scenario.
Okay, this is probably going to be pretty defensive heavy because that's where most of my scouting has been.
Okay, so round 1 went Mendoza, Reese, Maui Noah, Bain, Tate, Lemon, Downs, Tyson, Bailey, Woods.
So then we still got Sonny Styles on the board, right?
Yes, he is.
Then yeah, I mean, based on our conversation earlier, I do like Delane and McCoy a lot. But considering that there's more corners that I like going into rounds 2 and 3 than there are linebackers that I like, I feel like Sonny Styles will probably be where I would go there.
Okay, so we go Sonny Styles. So the simulator is going to give us a second first round. And in this one, Styles got sniped 4 picks before you're on the clock. So there's no Sonny Styles. Downs went at 5.
Yeah, and in this case, without Sonny Styles, there's not another linebacker that I feel is on the same level other than Reese. So I would go with corner here, and I have Mansour Delane as my top corner. I think he's a guy that you can put in and be basically a number 1 corner from day 1.
Okay, so the third one, Styles and Delane, are sniped before your pick at 11. David Bailey is here.
Mm.
So I love me some David Bailey. My concern with David Bailey is, and it kind of goes counter to what Christian and EJ were talking about in terms of the edges in this defense, and that is that it's too similar to Chop for me. Like neither of them are all that great in the run game, and I feel like when you have two of those guys together, and I think Bailey's a fantastic player. I think he's the best pass rusher in the draft, and there are certainly scenarios where he might be the best available for me. In this case, I really like Jermon McCoy, right? And I think that a lot for him is going to come down to how he performs at the combine, how he runs. I did see stuff that I guess at the end of last season, he was actually practicing on the field, but just chose not to play because he didn't want to, risk re-injury. But, if everything checks out for him, then I think that, he's the other corner that I would consider there in round one.
Okay. So in the fourth one, Delane, McCoy, and Styles are off the board. Downs is also off the board. What do you do?
Assuming that Reese is off the board as well.
Yes, Reese is off the board.
He's going to fall eventually for me. But no, in this scenario, right, if everything else was gone and I didn't have a great trade down option, then it would be really difficult to pass up David Bailey here. Like I said, he's the best pass rusher in the draft, and you can never have too many good pass rushers.
Okay. And then in the fifth and final one, Styles, Delane, McCoy, Bailey, all sniped. Reese is off the board. Bain is off the board.
So there could be a conversation at some point for the Dolphins for a tackle with that number 11 pick, depending on what they decide to do with Austin Jackson. Right now, you have Patrick Paul, you've got Aaron Brewer, and then likely Jonas Avayanaya getting another start at the left guard position, but they don't have anything at right guard. They have Austin Jackson right now at right tackle. But if you release him, then, you could probably be talking tackle, but considering he is still on the roster, I would go Caleb Downs here for sure with what's left.
Okay. And that was a first-round challenge with Sonny Styles, Mansour Delane, Jermod McCoy, David Bailey, Caleb Downs. Is there one of those players that is your favorite, Eric, for Miami?
Yeah, I think the first one, just based on what we talked about before, right? There's other options at corner that I like further down in the draft. So when we're talking about horizontal boards and the way that works, Sonny Styles being the one guy that I really like at linebacker in addition to Arvell Reese. I'm slowly converting to that being what I'm hoping happens on draft night.
Okay. So we have a comment here from Anthony. Overall, like EJ, I haven't heard any talk of McCoy as a slot corner. Can you either validate the comment or remind me that McCoy is a boundary corner?
Yeah, from what I've seen of him, he's played on the boundary. He's over 6 feet, close to 200 pounds. He seems like he has the size to stay outside on the boundary. And from what I've seen from 2024, he's been an outside cornerback. Does he have the ability to play a slot? Probably. I think he has to change direction. But I mean, if what he's played is as an outside cornerback, most likely on the outside. So I think I'd keep him there.
Christian, if McCoy was healthy this year, would he be your corner one over Delane?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think McCoy, when you talk about the best corners in football, Pat Surtain, et cetera, I think McCoy's got all the tools to become that next guy. It's just, what am I getting with the knee?
So let's pause for podcaster identification. First of all, Eric, I want to say thank you for coming on because you brought an entourage with you. So Anthony, you're here nearly every podcast for Draft Professor. That's awesome. Eric brought the rest of, Fins up with him. So Eric, feel free to introduce yourself. Let us know about all of the podcasts and the football content that you make.
Yeah, so I am a contributor on 5 Reasons Sports. Over there, we do Scouting the Fins podcast, which is on the 5 Reasons YouTube, as well as the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast feed. And then I also have my own YouTube channel under the same as my X handle at OL Coach Smith 63. Over there, we do a lot of video breakdowns specific to the Miami Dolphins. And then, we started doing weekly with Anthony Testino, another show called Focused on Fins that we do live and take questions. So would love to see some guys over there.
Christian.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Zwick_Christian at the handle below there. Also right here on the This Is Our Relevant podcast every Thursday at 9 p.m. New Top 100 Big Board coming out next week before the Combine. So check it out. I appreciate all the interaction and engagements.
Cool. EJ.
Yeah, pretty much you can catch me every Thursday, 9 o'clock here on the Mrs. Our Relevant podcast, along with Christian. You can also catch my work on the Rogue Analytics Draft Guide. It's coming out in about almost a month now. I'm going to be doing running backs and wide receiver scouting reports there. And then also you can see on my Twitter or X, you pretty much I'll give you player breakdowns, scheme breakdowns, about film breakdowns of what these the draft players pretty much what I like about them, how they fit, and pretty much all things draft related. And what you get with my Twitter feed, pretty much all you're gonna film-based opinions. It's gonna be what I see on the film and what I think of the players. No hot takes, no rage bait, no clickbait, none of that stuff. So if you want to argue with me, argue with the film. Don't argue with me. And as always, I will never, ever, ever, ever say word generational.
And I want to thank everybody that's here and remind everybody that Draft Professor is podcasting on the draft every day. We have a show at 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern right now. We have 2 shows on Saturday. We have 3 shows on Sunday. So if you're watching on YouTube and you can hit that subscribe, you will be notified whenever we go live. So among the topics that we have coming up, Sunday night, we're going to be talking about positional value. So the whole, do you take Caleb Downs in the top 10? Do you take Sonny Styles in the top 10? But we're just going to extract it to just positional value. So that's going to be the topic for Sunday night. Every Friday night, we do a live mock draft. So if any of the Miami Dolphins fans watching this podcast want to draft for Miami, go to the Draft Professor X page at NFL Draft Fanatic, no I in Fanatic. I am the person behind that account. The pinned post is the sign up for the draft. So if you want to draft for Miami, just drop your name in and I will connect with you for how to do the draft. I know, Eric, you have drafted for Miami in more than one of those. And you've been very complimentary. It's a different mock draft, everybody. You're mock drafting against people, not a simulator. So it's different. You will learn things about, who else values Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who else is targeting Styles and Downs. You will learn quite a bit from those mocks. And then also want to remind everybody that we have Epic Mock 26, April 9th, 10th, and 11th. And that is a 7-round mock draft where everybody drafting is a podcaster. So there will be 32 podcasts. There will be a Miami Dolphins podcast, Buffalo Bills, Philadelphia Eagles, etc. Every team's going to have their own podcast. We'll also have a big one here for Draft Professor. It is by far our biggest podcast of the year by a factor of about 100, just based upon what we did last year. So it's a lot of fun. It's 3 days long. This year on Sunday, we're adding a UDFA episode. So the only players we're going to talk about on Sunday are the players that weren't drafted the previous 3 days. So if you want to get new player names, Draft Professor, we're here every day. So I got a new name from EJ today. And that's what we're here to do. Is we're here to dig. We're going to find new names. So for Eric, Christian, EJ, myself, and the 80 podcasters at the Draft Professor, thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy your Thursday night, and we will see you on a podcast again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.